Hello and welcome to Fridays with the Chakontas. And yeah, we'll be addressing a question.
All right. So the question is, well, it's not a question. There's a question, but it's somebody has written the following.
Yeah.
I am a 24-year-old lady and in a complicated relationship of which I need your help.
Okay.
I've been seeing this guy for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Mid this year, I fell pregnant and told him about it, of which he accepted everything and said it's okay and that he wanted children with me.
Mm-hmm.
He sent his people to meet my family to talk about marriage, of which he even brought mbale with his ankles. So mbale, for those people who don't know, is when a family, a man's family takes literally mbale is a plate to a woman's family as a, they put some money in there as a form of, opening a conversation about marriage.
Yeah.
However, to my surprise, 4 months into the pregnancy, he called me that we talk. When I went to his house, I think she means, he dropped a bomb that he almost made me collapse. He was withdrawing everything, claiming that his family is not comfortable with him marrying me.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him why he sent people to talk about marriage with my family if that was how his family felt. He just said they never sat down at that time to look at all angles. I asked what angles he was talking about that could not tell me straight. I told him that I was not going to take it because he has ruined my life and all. I rejected men who were serious to marry for him. He wasted a good 2 years of my time. Still, he said he would do all he can to convince his family because he loves me.
Yeah.
Days went by and nothing was coming up, and our communication became bad in that sometimes he would ignore my calls and become quite rude when he was talking to me. So I confronted him and asked him what I should do with the pregnancy, and he told me to do whatever I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I became so disturbed. I'm still confused because he has even stopped calling or visiting me.
Mm-hmm.
The last time I went to his house to see him so we talk, I found he shifted without telling me. I told my family about it, and it was also disturbing because this is the guy who even sent people to discuss marriage and left Mbale as proof of his commitment. We engaged his family, but surprisingly, they do not even seem concerned. They claim he told them that he does not want to proceed with the marriage thing, and yet to me, he said his family that does not approve of it. Ati nanga nikusunga ko che mwana, then vazamusunga. That means if it's keeping the child, they will keep the child. Two different statements from the same family. I'm really confused and heartbroken. Is there a way that the courts can help in this matter? We haven't yet returned the mbale as we are still looking at all possible means of resolving this. I need your advice.
It's a lot.
I know. Ugh, I'm even tired of reading. My mouth. I need water.
So, do they actually return the plates?
Yeah, you can return them.
Really?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
How did you return them?
The same way they came, covered with the same money that was put in there.
Yeah.
And you have a meeting. You can call. I don't know if there's traditional way of whether you take it back or you bring it back or who takes it. But I think the same way that they came is the same way you can return them. If they're not coming, you can call a meeting, and then you can go and present yourselves and say okay. But I think in something like this, people, the elderly people are quite wise.
Yeah.
I don't think they would literally call a meeting and say, we're returning your mbale. No, they would call a meeting and say, well, because I feel like in these conversations, people do ask questions like, okay, so you're bringing mbale. What are your plans? Or if they don't, I think this is a really important. What are your plans? What's your projection? So then if they're not coming, you call and say, okay, we were expecting. There's usually a middle person who like your side will talk to, or that, you call a meeting and say, okay, we haven't heard anything, or our child is telling us this. Is this, what is going on? Can you please explain? Okay. And then you reach a conclusion to say, we don't need, you can take them back. So you take them back because Palimailo or another day, they'll say, well, we gave, I even gave your family money. They took your money. They took my money, whatever. Because the initial money is not a lot of money, to be fair. So yeah, you take it back, or you can take it back. Is an answer to your question.
And why didn't his relatives go and tell that girl that they're not interested?
They didn't say they didn't go tell her. in the story, remember, her family got in touch, and they spoke, and they said, well, she said they did not appear interested or bothered because their son, so the guy, whether it's their son, their cousin, the main guy, had told them that he did not wish to get married.
No, but isn't it just common courtesy from the guy's side? If the guy says he's not interested, they need to go
they
back.
should have. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Thinking.
That's a very fair point. They should have gone back and say, well, yeah, it's a bit embarrassing, but they should have done that.
But so that was disrespectful on the
Absolutely.
guy's side.
Yeah. The guy's been disrespectful on so many levels, yes.
So what are your thoughts?
Babe, I've read it all, so I think you've got to start. And you're quite good at starting these conversations, to be fair.
Here the challenge is, you know what? I think I'm very blunt. So
you are too blunt.
Yeah. So
well, it's okay. We need you. You know what? I feel like we have been sugarcoating things too much in this society. We've dumbed down a lot of things, and we've made things that are true, that should be said, be like, oh, you're too blunt. Oh, you're too. But it's the truth. There's no way of saying this. So go for it, baby.
You don't want to get me cancelled on social media. To be honest, I think the disrespect started before even the Mbale were
Absolutely.
returned. Because I'm just like, look, that guy could not wait for that girl and until he was ready to commit to get her pregnant.
Yeah.
And you guys did not respect each other on both sides.
Yeah.
So you've already breed an aspect of a level of you don't have a level of self-control.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes to another aspect of now, in the sense of that, now you're trying to it's like you're trying to rectify something.
Yeah.
You've made a mistake and now trying to rectify something through that mistake. They are trying to make commitments.
Mm-hmm.
And now because of that, now you start to have cold feet.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this is why, like we always say through the podcast as we've been going through our reviews, we're saying like, look, both men and women, don't become if you're interested in each other, the aspect of physicality, wait for it.
Literally.
There is a context of where these things are supposed to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the reason that we're saying here. We're not saying that, look, people who are married, they're saying people who get those commitments and divorce and whatever. We're not talking about them. We're saying even though they're divorced, there has to be a level of, the law has to come into the situation. Because here, I don't even know where the law comes in.
Yeah, because she's asking, can I go to court? I think there's so many levels, so I think we can break it down.
Can the law?
But she does. At the moment, I don't think so. I think the law can come in once she has, I don't know the legalities, but I think once she has the child, that child now needs to be recognized as his child, and then it will now be child support. Yeah. So he has to agree that this is my pregnancy, because he can just say no, and he doesn't even want the DNA test. Like, you can't I don't think you can force him. But I think,
can't you get a court order to get a DNA test?
This is a very good question. I hope you can, because I feel like some people, they just you know some people, you're just like, yeah, you were part of the making. Here's the court order. Do a DNA test. If it's your child support. That's it. But I don't know. I don't really know the legalities, but I do know that. And it also depends on, now when things become, different countries have different laws as to when a child is a child. Or when a pregnancy is counted as this is a baby. So
let's talk about it biblically.
What's biblically? There's nothing even. What do you mean?
When people basically, for us biblically, a child is a child upon concept.
No. It is. But if you're now asking, can she take him to court? We have to now look as in the as much as biblically, the child became a child before even we knew that this child was going to become a child.
Yeah.
We recognize babies, an egg and a thing, when as long as they touch each other, that's it. That's the child. But I'm saying the law of the land is going to have to look at the laws of that land. Yeah. As in, so if it depends on what stage she's pregnant, I think she did say she's 4 months. So if she might not be able to go to court now because maybe they don't recognize it yet, but she might be able to go to court once the baby's born.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was my point. So I think,
but what happens is the different question. So isn't there a responsibility? Because this is foreign to me.
Yeah.
Isn't there an aspect of responsibility from the guy during the pregnancy?
That's a very good question, babe. And I think this is why, for me, like me and Lydia on our life as guys, you got to listen to us. Like, we are so, like, I think, my heart goes out to this girl because I'm just like, ladies, this is why and I remember this teaching, and I did not like this when and I will probably say multiple times, where, it doesn't answer your question, but I will answer your question. I was at church and we were youths, and, we were being taught, and I liked our youth services because they were blunt. It wasn't all wishy-washy. We talked about sex. We talked about everything, like, the questions, how far should you go? We talked about all of this stuff. And one of the youth leaders, she was just like, look, it's both your responsibilities. But I remember, because I wasn't happy with a statement, which was, but ladies, you have the power. Like, you've got, at the end of the day, a lot of that ends up being falling on you. So you've got to hold that higher than the guy. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah.
And I did not like that, because I felt like, what? It's both our responsibilities. If we get into this mess, we're both in it together. But actually, as life has gone on, as you can see, they were both in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for the guy to move on. The girl, she can't just say, I'm leaving. She's carrying a baby.
Yeah.
If, like, physically, you cannot move on from that. You can't walk away. If you're working, you might need to stop working.
Yeah.
If not even during the pregnancy itself, at some point in the pregnancy, let's say everything goes perfectly well, and we do hope that it does. At some point, you have to stop working early. At some point, you're going to have to stop working after the baby is born. And a lot of that responsibility, naturally, because we're women, falls on us. So I feel for her, because she went into this relationship bit not trapped, because she does hold, she has to take ownership, but with this idea. And then this guy, it's just easy for him to just say bye. So I don't think there is anything in the law that says he has a level of responsibility during her pregnancy. This is why sometimes, this is why we talk about it, and we advocate for us women to really remember these things, because when it comes to it, the guy can just pack his bags and go. Like, he's literally just moved and gone, and you are left with the emotions and the difficulties and all of these challenges to face yourself.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can't do it. There are many women and men who've been raised by single parents and single mothers. There are many women who are in your situation, although it seems really dark, and you're in a dark space. There is light at the end of the tunnel. You can get out of this, and this is why I'm sure we're gonna get to it, but I've already gotten to it. We have a God who forgives, who will help you even in the mess that you have created yourself. So no, I don't. The guys, they can easily run. Like, you can't easily catch them. They can just run, and you're just left, and you are in it 50-50.
I know, and he was probably saying all the right things.
Yeah,
and then you're basically, you have to bear all the consequences. And I'm saying,
it's true. Like, she's carrying it. She's carrying the consequences more than he is.
Yeah, you know what? I think for me, let's say for example, I grew up with cousins, but like in my immediate family we're just boys.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it would have been. I think for me, I thank God that I never had a sister, like a younger sister or older sister. I think I'll be very harsh. Don't you think so?
I think you'd be very harsh, but hey, this life, I don't know. It doesn't matter how harsh you are, babe.
Yeah.
These people of nowadays, it's just God. It's just God.
No, to be honest,
because I'm just like, I agree with you. I do. I think if you just pray to God that those things that you're saying to your sisters, to your brothers, even as we speak right now, people are not just listening, but they're actively acting it out.
Yeah.
They're actively trying the best to withhold. It's not easy being single, and it's not easy being in a relationship and abstaining from sex. It's not easy. And I think sometimes we wash over it. Sometimes we we just say don't have sex. We have this culture of it's just the unspoken rule. Everybody in that can be in that room and everybody be doing it, but nobody be saying anything. And I feel like it's like the elephant in the room, even amongst us Christians. It's become something that we commonly do, but yet I think sometimes we are still quiet about it. I know we spoke about it last time, and you're like, oh my wife, she's just so open about these things. And I feel like those are some of the things that helped me when I was growing up.
Yeah.
When I was going to church and we were allowed to ask these questions, people would write on a piece of paper and we'll drop it in a box. How far is too far? What about giving a blowjob? Because everybody's talking about all of these things.
Yeah.
What about masturbation? But 90% of the people are masturbating, but we are quiet and we're in church, all of us struggling, but nobody's addressing these things. How do you help yourself? How do you prevent these things? How do you hold yourself? Like, these things are not, we don't address, like, you need people to literally walk. I feel like you need people to walk with you. And I think for me, what really helped was having that where I felt like I had people walking with me. And I guess it also depends on what, because ultimately with all of that, God is the one who causes you to will and to do, but I think we need to continue to help each other in these seasons. And even when this girl has fallen into this, into this situation, now is not the time. I know because you and I are addressing it from an outsider, but let's say she's our friend. What was I gonna say? Or like,
somebody we know.
Yeah, like, now is not the time to say, well, it's like, well, she knows.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Now, how can we address now the situation? So now this is why I'm like,
now let's move forward. Yeah,
let's move forward. Because I think sometimes this is maybe the problem we have, especially people on the other side. It's like something has happened and we're like saying, how could it be prevented and everything? That has passed now.
Yeah.
What's the next thing for us to this? And I think in this situation, the next thing is basically they've been given an option here where they've told the girl, I said, look, if it's about the child, we'll take care of the child.
Yeah.
So there's an aspect of commitment on saying we can help
that's for the
child.
family, but I don't think that's the guy, but yes.
Yeah. And I think this is another thing. If the family are going to step in and help,
that's helpful.
They can give their terms and conditions on how they can help. And I think there's a level of where women become very bitter.
Yeah.
Because they feel like this guy has left me with a pregnancy. He's run away. He's done A, B, C, D. And like the bitterness never goes away. Even when the guy comes back, it's like,
where were you the last 10?
I hate you so much because of what you've done to me.
Yeah.
And I think here is a level of where like I'm trying to talk to my sisters and trying to say, look, I understand,
but it's
hurt.
hard. Can you imagine this story? Then the guy comes when the kid is 18, 20.
No, but there's a level of now. How do we do it from a biblical principle and saying, look,
biblical.
There has to be a level of forgiveness. There has to be a level of understanding that, look, regardless of this guy refusing what his responsibility.
Sorry, I'm just feeling for this girl. You've just said that. I'm just like, after what she's going through right now, then he comes and be like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I want my child. You understand that. You can understand from her point of view, because someone leaving you when like I've seen my friends go through pregnancy, and so like I see in another light right now. I'm just like, all those dark walking, oh my back this, oh I want to eat this, oh this. I'm just like, and he left you in that moment.
Yeah.
All the whole postmortem stuff. Postmortem. Look at me. Postpartum. Excuse me, people. My medical knowledge too much. You're even saying the wrong words. Yeah. Like it's not easy. But biblically, You are right.
Do you think the aspect of, in our culture, there's this thing called damages? Do you think that rectifies somebody's absence during those situations?
Baby, I think we should talk about it on a different topic, but yes, that's a whole topic by itself. No.
I think you guys should talk about
yeah,
this. I think
I think me and Lydia need to I think me and Lydia have more oomph for this. No, simplest answer is no. I think it's just, I think, sometimes we use money.
Yeah.
I think if you look, there's something that, me and Lydia are addressing about culture. When you look at the where the foundation of some of these principles and the actions came from, they're rooted in a good place, but with time things have changed. So a man now might think, well, I paid that money, so what's the problem? It's not about the money, it's about your sincerity. It's about how are you genuinely sorry? And you know what, when someone says they're sorry, there's nothing you can do about it. As a Christian, there is nothing. All we have to do is forgive, because God commands us to forgive, because that is also how God forgives us. Forgive others as you want to also be forgiven, because we're also sinners. So when somebody comes, if this man was to come back again and ask for forgiveness, we have to forgive. And sometimes it's hard to forgive when people have hurt you, and it's easier to be hurt by people who you love and people who you've given yourself to and you've been vulnerable with. But ultimately, you have to forgive. So yes, I think, the whole, principle of giving a token as a symbol of my apology, I think the symbol is a good symbol. And yeah, so, but yeah, I think there's a bit more to that. So yeah, that's my simple answer to your question.
Okay. And so like we were saying that because of the situation here, now we're trying to address it from an aspect of we're saying, what do we do next?
Yeah, so what do we do now? Because I think we said that we've addressed, what could have, how we could have prevented it, but now she's in this situation. What now?
The good thing is, if you got a good support system, lean on that.
Yeah.
If you've got good friends, family, lean on those support system. If you've got a church, that
be honest with them.
Be honest with them and help, ask for help in those situations. Yeah. Where you're trying to also rebuild something, maybe because there may be some relationships you've broken because of all these situations.
Of that gentleman.
Yeah, and then just try to rebuild those things.
True.
It's very hard because everybody is going to have different emotions. Yeah. And I think there's always, especially when you're coming with an aspect, it can be very hurtful because you're going with a lot of emotions. Yeah. You're going through rejection. You have to now go and ask for forgiveness. You're going through rejection from some people who don't want that forgiveness to grant you that forgiveness. Yep. And they permanently label you. Exactly. Embarrassment. Yeah. There's all those things. And it's like questioning your future. Yeah. So much goes on. It builds a whole level it just builds a whole level of emotions. Yeah. And I think sometimes even that's why like some people like it's very, especially like sometimes, like we talk so much, especially from the Christian worldview where like we're saying we're against abortion. Yeah. And sometimes like women actually are thinking about these things. Yeah. And if they're not mentally stable and thinking and all those things, you're like, I can't go through all those. I can't do that. I can't so I'm just going to go and do it. Yeah. And then it brings another aspect of shame. Yeah. That comes with something like that. And I think that's why I'm saying like we need to have communities that are there to help and hold people's hands and say, you made a mistake, but we're here for you. We'll walk with you through that mistake. Because we all make mistakes. And yes. We're not going to, And I think we need that attitude. And I think we need to continue to carry that because that is loving. Yeah. That is being kind. That is being gentle to each other. That is how God views all of us. So who are we to now start looking at this girl and judging her? Yeah. No, none of us. But yeah, I think right now it's, commending her for keeping the baby. Yeah. Because that's a good point because it could have gone another direction. And obviously if there might be other people who that's something that they've done. And again, I think being a Christian is just an amazing thing because we have a God who has already forgiven you. You might be listening to this and you've had an abortion or a termination of pregnancy, but
God has already forgiven you. So just ask God for forgiveness and ask God to help you in that season, to strengthen you and to guide you, and He will, you know. So for her, we thank God that, you know, she was able to keep this pregnancy. And, you know, it might be a different story if the guy had not been in the picture from the beginning, if he had rejected the pregnancy, but he was with the pregnancy. But even now, this might be going through her mind. But
we also need to thank God, especially, let's say, for example, even though he went through all those things, let's say, for example, maybe she was thinking about that. And I think he's just, him being there for just the 3 months.
Might
look
have,
at it, it's a blessing.
It is. It might have changed her projection.
Mind. And basically said, I would have gone in a different direction.
Yeah, that's so true.
And I think for those 3 months, just him being like that, we also need to thank God. Us on the other side need to thank God for that.
That he was present.
He was
absolutely.
Present or
I agree.
Like that. And then
I completely
that baby
agree
is
with
being
you.
spared.
Exactly.
For at least 3 months.
You know, that's God's child. And you know, God has given you a gift to be a mother to this child. You might not feel that way, you might not see that way, but it is a precious gift. And ask God for forgiveness. So all I would say, the first thing is ask God for forgiveness and accept that God has forgiven you, because sometimes we ask, but then you just feel so ashamed. You feel like, oh God, I've just let you down. Like, accept that forgiveness so that you can move on and be able to actually pray to God and ask God to help you, ask God to guide you, ask God to give you direction on what are the steps that you should take. Ask God to give you wisdom in so many, because God has brought a child. Now he is the one who brought this child into this world. So he's the one who's going to create provision for this child. So whichever direction he's going to do that in, you know, you haven't told us, the girl hasn't told us what she does in terms of work, whether she works or not, or she's at school. All of those things are secondary in a sense of God has given you what an amazing, precious gift. So it is difficult now, but he will walk through it with you. Like, it was not, like, it's remembering that this was not an accident in God's eyes. Like, he knew that this guy was going to walk out on you. So the focus now is no longer on him. I think he has decided to disrespect the commitment that you guys had made together, to disrespect you and the child. And he doesn't want to be part of it. So you can't force him. You can't drag him, although you want to. And I get that. But you can't. At the moment, you need to focus on your baby, your health, and moving forward. Now that you've got time, you can now start doing some little plannings. It's difficult, but, you know, like my husband said, you know, if you have a good support network, people who can walk with you, sit with you on a bad day. If you need to cry, it's okay, cry. But go buy some baby clothes, whatever you can afford, whether it's, you know, you've got money to go buy new baby clothes, or if it's salawula, you know, whatever it is, start preparing for this child slowly and just get yourself prepared now for being a single earthly parent, but God is going to parent this child with you and will provide the needs that you need to, you know, throughout this pregnancy. And just focus on that. I think that is the best way through but you are going to have difficult days. I'm not going to deny that. I don't think, you know, it's easier for us to just say focus on your current presentation, your current situation and the future. You will have bad days, and those bad days may last days or weeks. But try and pick yourself up for your baby, and just because this man has decided he doesn't want to be part of it. And take ownership as well. Take responsibility and say, you know what? I did take part in this. This is also my doing. You know, I take responsibility for my actions. So one way of taking responsibility and saying, I'm a mother now. I did something that has made me a mother, and I'm a mother. And so I'm going to ask God to help me through it. And he will. I mean, you know, we have presidents and and, you know, people who've been raised by single parents, but you don't know what the future holds for you. You don't know what God has planned for you. So anything the Bible says, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough problems of itself. So you don't even know. So why we worry too much about tomorrow? Let's just focus on today. So take each day as it comes. Yeah,
that's true. And I think also on the thing of how do you get the law involved? And I think this is another thing where you need to also be a level of wisdom on this situation about the law. because whenever you get the law involved, there comes an aspect of where the law would demand a certain aspect of responsibility on, let's say if the baby was there, when they allow a certain responsibility on the man to, like with child support and everything.
I think, as I said, I honestly, I don't know. I think it depends on what's on the birth certificate. It has to be like, this is the child, but I don't know what happens when, because it seems that this guy has run away.
Yeah.
Because he's moved. She doesn't know where he's moved to. It seems that there's no communication. He doesn't respond.
Yeah.
I'll go back. I think so. I feel like he's literally completely detached. The family have said they'll be part of it, and it's just understanding what level of support are they willing to provide.
Yeah.
Is it financially? Is it emotionally? Is it babysitting? Like, what, and it's good to let your family have these meetings with these people if they're willing to have the meeting, just to see, okay, let's focus on the baby, what type of support. And they can also take the message to him. I'm sure he's in contact with him.
Yeah.
They're in contact with him, and to say, well, you don't want to be part of her life, but do you want to be paying child support?
Yeah.
And I think there's, you can ask for legal advice.
Yeah, on that one, yeah. And it's also good that the family are trying to help. And I think maybe the family can actually speak to him and help him understand his responsibilities. But I think maybe sometimes some families just try to hide somebody's misbehavior.
Oh, sorry, that was
somebody's misbehavior when somebody's supposed to step up and do what they need to do. But but in general, it's a tough situation. And I think we just extend our prayers to that the one who posted that, and we just hope that God may help you. We commend you so far for keeping that baby for the last 4 months, and we pray for your pregnancy period and whatever decisions that you're going to have, and people who are helping.
Yeah.
We also ask that God can help you with those situations. And I think on a general thing, I think we as a church and we as probably a nation should also find ways of how we can help young ladies going through these situations.
Yeah.
We shouldn't only just be telling them to keep their babies and not having ways of how to help them take care of their babies afterwards.
Yeah, no, I think there's, multiple, we didn't touch on it. There's adoption, there's, there's so many other options, it just depends on, if you can't keep the child for many reasons, you can put the baby up for adoption. That is an option.
That's an option. In Zambia, is that an option?
Yeah,
also?
babe. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Where have you been, babe?
No, I thought like in Zambia they're always like.
No, it's because we love to adopt each other.
Yeah, but like the question is like I feel like because of the family closeness that we have, it's like somebody from the family is going to step up and take care of the child.
That is a form of adoption. Maybe we don't write it legally as adoption, but that is a type of adoption. They always, even here, if a child, for whatever reason the child cannot be with their parents, they always try and keep the child within the family if it's safe. So I think we naturally do it in Zambia. But yes, adoption and legal adoption is possible. They're like orphanages for children who parents have given for adoption, or they're there.
Okay. Anyways,
so and there's a proper legal way of how you can do it.
Okay. Yeah, I've learned something today.
Oh, well done to you. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for. Are we saying thank you for listening? Yeah.
Oh, I was saying thank you to you, babe. But
Thank you also. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope our thoughts are of encouragement to this situation.
Yeah.
And so hope you've enjoyed our episode.
Yeah.
On Fridays with the Chakontas. On addressing this situation.
Yeah. So that was a story someone's story that we read, and we just gave our own opinions, and hopefully we have not offended anybody, and that is not the intention at all. But we do try to address these things from a biblical point of view, as a point of discussion. Yeah.
And if you've got any ones where you want us to address
any stories, you can send them to us
anonymously.
Yeah.
And then we'll try to address them as best as we can with the best knowledge that we have.
Yeah.
And we'll probably leave an email
Yeah, we'll put an email or a link to one of our pages, which we don't have yet, but sounds like a good idea now to have one.
Yes.
And then you can drop it.
You can drop it there, and then we can see what we can do with the question that you have. And so yeah, until next time, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
And take care and God bless. Bye
God
bye.
bless. Bye.